understand the concept of government's role in growing the national economy. Okay, so let's have a look at this chapter for the role of government. Okay. Okay, here are some of the functions of government in order to prosper the national economy. So usually the government is an administrator. Government, we can consider this as a national administrator. Okay, so that's why they will manage country. Not only in terms of economy, but also in terms of national affairs. And then internal affairs, and then the relationship between those countries. So one of the function is economic. In Malay, that Malaysia economic is urgent or administrative by Kementerian Hal Ehwal Ekonomi. Okay, which is led by Azmin Ali Okay, so currently Azmin Ali. All right, so what are the important functions of government? Okay, the first one is just the allocation of resources. Okay, when we talk about resources, each country have a different kind of resources. Okay, in Malaysian perspective, the resources that available in the Malaysia, not only food, but also in the minerals, minerals like bauxite, gold, and then forestries, iaitu kayu-kayu pembalakan pokok dan sebagainya lah. So they need to make sure that the resources is managed well. Okay, have a look at Russia. Okay, Russia also have their own resources. For example, uranium, uranium for nuclear, and then gold, and then land. So different country have different resources as well. So the job of the government is to make sure the resources is managed efficiently, fully efficiently, and then they will allocate consistently with the mission, what we call as a national mission. Okay, the second one is to assist private sector to ensure economic stabilization. Okay, bear in mind, economic growth does not necessarily dependent on the government's performance and government administration, which is considered as a public sector. Okay, but private sector also play an important role to help public sector in stabilize the economy. Okay, this is because private sector is more diverse, more dynamic, which is some private sector operates locally, some private sectors operates internationally. So that's why they also can prosper businesses as well to ensure the economic growth. So that is a private sector also play an important role. Okay, the third one, create a business environment, which is we're talking about the competition. Okay, we're talking about either, remember if you learn during macroeconomic days, monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, and perfect competition. So that's why, if the best thing is to reduce monopoly, and more on perfect competition. We're talking about the healthy competition without dirty tactics and so on. That means the environment that makes society happy, and then also companies happy as well. Okay, number 4, redistribute income and wealth among the population. So the reason why, because we want to close the gap. Okay, close the gap between richer and poorer. Okay, we don't want people to be too rich. We don't want the people to be poorer. So that is a issue. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so redistribute income means that we need to ensure that people are equally wealthy. All right, so we don't want the rich to be richer, the poor to be poorer. We don't want sort of that huge gap that will lead to discrimination. And the last one, provide a legal and social framework for the effective operation of an economy. Okay, this is to ensure that the economy is healthy and then also society is in a good condition as well. Okay. The budget, okay. The budget is usually made by government. Every year they will announce a budget. Okay. If you as a Malaysian, you should know that every October, then the Ministry of Finance will announce budget. Yeah. So there are three types of budget available here. The first one is balanced budget. The second one surplus budget, and the third one deficit budget. What is the difference between those three? Let's have a look. Okay, balanced budget whereby the government's total expenditure is equal to its total revenue. You might find difficult to read this one, but expenses, which is equals to revenue. So that means whatever that government receive, and then they will spend the same amount as well. That means 50-50. Yeah, whatever that government spend is equal to whatever that the revenue they get. That is a balanced budget. Okay, for surplus budget, which is total government revenue is more than a total expenditure. In Malay, we call it as a budget lebih lah. Lebih, that means that ada extra. So this is happen whereby revenue is more than expenses. Okay, so whatever that government receive is more than whatever that government spend. And deficit budget is another way around whereby expenditure is more than revenue. This is problem, whereby government spend more than what they receive. Okay, we become negative. Yeah, so that's why, if you heard the news, some countries have deficit budget, some countries have surplus budget, some countries have balanced budget. It depends on the policy practiced by government. Yeah, are they going for surplus? Are they going for deficit? Are they going for balanced budget? I don't want to be a politician or politicize this thing, but you know yourself. You know yourself that you know the differences between different administration, different prime minister, and then what their budget approach was, and so on. So yeah, theoretically speaking, that there are three types of budget. Okay, let's have a look at the revenue. Where do government got the money? Yeah, what is their government's income, so to speak? Okay, the first one is a tax revenue. Tax revenue means that we call it as an income tax. Okay, we as a society, sometimes, if you are working, we need to pay income tax every year to the government, which is in Malaysia context is LHD, and Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri. Yeah, every year they will collect tax from the employees who earn income every year. Even me myself, have to pay income tax as well. Yeah, so the tax will be injected into government's revenue. Yeah, in call it as a hasil. Yeah. Okay, non-tax revenue means that any kind of income does not involve tax. Yeah, that one I'm not sure. Yeah, this one non-tax revenue. Okay, non-tax revenue, we will look at the example later on, which is other than tax revenue. And the last one, non-revenue receipt. It's like an indirect income. Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at what are the non-tax revenue. Okay. The first one, like licenses and permit. Some of the organization or small businesses apply license. Let's say nak berniaga, from Majlis Pembadaran from local community, local community municipals. So if they want to apply for night market permit, so that's why they need to pay license. So one of them is license. And then petroleum royalty, this is whereby some of the countries refine the oil, for example, Kelantan, Terengganu, Sabah and Sarawak. So the income from that, will pass, some of them will pass to the government, some of them will pass to the petroleum company like Petronas or Shells and so on, their royalty. Interest and return on investment. This is one of the revenue that government gets, because the investment that they made, Yeah, for example, they have foreign investment. Yeah, they invest stock, yeah, internationally, and they will get revenue from that. Yeah, the returns from that. And then others like services fees, fines and penalty. Fines ni when you need to pay someone. Yeah, like fees, driving misconduct, driving misconduct, yeah, and then police fines you, and then you need to pay fines as well. And then fees, yeah, another fees like school fees, yeah, public school fee. We're talking about public school fees, yeah, and then penalty. Yeah, penalty is some kind like fines also as well. So that's why, yeah, people might thinking that, oh, they impose fines freely to public because they want to collect money. Sometimes people are saying that, yeah, but this is one of their income as well. Yeah? Okay, non-revenue receipt means that include contribution from foreign government and international agency. Yeah, that means whatever that other countries give money to local countries. Yeah, okay, for example, African countries pay $1 million to Malaysia for the recognition that they made. So $1 million received by Malaysia, we can call it as a non-revenue receipt. International agencies, yeah, FBI pay Malaysia $3 million, for example, because of the valuable services that Malaysia have. That means Malaysia assist in that matters and so on. So that is a non-revenue receipt. The direct taxes, which is this one, this is us, yeah, that means individual income tax. Company also have to pay income tax as well, yeah. Petroleum income tax, yeah, which is some kind like associated with petroleum royalty, which is from the selling of petroleum to another country, which is more on export, yeah. Okay, well, we also exporting petroleum, yeah, to another country. So the revenue that get from the government will be injected as a tax, yeah. Stamp duties, yeah, which is some kind like agreements. Others includes real property, gains tax and income, other income tax. This is whereby the tax that from selling properties like selling houses, selling lands and so on. Okay, indirect taxes. Okay, so indirect taxes, which is the tax that not directly but still injected into government's revenue, which is export duties, import duties, and excise duty. Export duties is whereby that the income gained from export. Import duties, that means the extra charge that gained from import, and excise duties means that some of the license, that fees that charge into those traders. Yeah, I mean like if let's say that port that Pelabuhan Kelang, that port Kelang, they also have excise duty. And then also like in Malaysia, Padang Besar or Rantau Panjang, they also have excise duty as well. The import goods, that transfer into the local countries, they also have a tax need to pay to the government. Sales tax, which is this is an obvious one, for example GST and also SST. Yeah, so this is one of their income as well. Service tax, yes, service tax is SST also. Yeah, okay, goods and service tax. Others, yeah, includes betting, gaming tax, but that one is a rarely cases happens. Okay, one of the major sources of government revenue is tax. Yeah, bear in mind that tax play an important role in government's revenue. So why taxation matters? Yeah, the first one as an income. What income that means for government? Yeah, that is the first one. Okay, the second one, equitable distribution of income, is some kind like to reduce the gap between rich and poor. Okay, the rich will pay more tax, and then yeah, the more tax, okay, and the taxes that paid by richer people, so that's why government will use that to assist poor, to aid poorer people. Yeah, so to ensure that they will get, like for example, poor people, like low income people, they got BPN or BSH. Okay, where do they get those money? Is from the taxpayer, yeah, especially for the rich and also corporate. Okay, So the money is channeling from the rich people to poor people. Yeah. The third one, reduction of harmful consumption. Okay, this is what we call as to clean up, yeah, the assets and the expenses, whereby the money, the revenue that the government receive will not use to spend blindlessly. Yeah, instead they will spend to the benefit of the society. Number four, regulation of foreign trade. Yeah, this is to make sure that the tax imposed will not ensure that foreign traders or foreign international companies will so-called as violate, yeah, the procedures, yeah, of the trade. And the last one, conservation of resources. Yeah, okay, this is whereby that tax also will take care of the resources that they have, whereby the tax collected by the government, yeah, will encourage the government to spend more on adding more resources. For example, developing agriculture, to have forestry, livestock, and so on. Yeah. Okay, this one we talked about that earlier, direct tax and indirect taxes. Okay, the difference is direct tax paid by the person on whom it is levied, which cannot be passed to on another person. That means the person itself will pay to the government directly. Okay, it's not cannot pass to another one. It's not like, okay, I pay tax to my friend and then my friend will pay tax to government. It's not like that. Direct taxes means that from one person to another person directly. Indirect tax, burden of tax can be passed to another person. Yeah, okay, this is like that. One people have tax, the rich and poor people earlier that we're talking about. Yeah, okay. The poor people need to pay tax, and then somehow they cannot pay, and then they pass to richer people, and the richer people have to pay to the government. Okay. Alright. So this is indirect tax. It's like a third party tax. Okay, there are a few types of tax structure. Okay, I keep it short and simple about this. Okay, what is proportional tax? Okay, tax which is imposed at the same rate for all income level. What does that mean is, yeah, if country practice this proportional tax, whether the individual have the income of 2,000 ringgit per month or 4,000 ringgit per month, or 6,000 ringgit per month or 8,000 ringgit per month, if annually need to multiply by 12, the tax rate will be equal. Okay, let's say for example 25%. No matter how much the income they need to pay. Yeah, if you have 2,000 ringgit, you still have to pay 25% tax. Yeah, 4,000 ringgit, 6,000 ringgit, 8,000 ringgit still need to pay. The problem with this proportional tax is this is discriminate for the lower income people. Okay, especially for those 2,000 and 4,000 ringgit income level. All right. So that is the problem whereby proportional tax, whereby they standardize the tax rate, yeah, regardless of any income level people. Yeah. So that is a proportional tax. Okay, the second one is progressive tax, whereby as far as income level is increasing, tax rate is also increasing as well. Let's say a people who have 2,000 ringgit monthly income, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, and then also 10,000. Okay, for 2,000 ringgit people, they need to pay this kind of tax only. Let's say 5%. For 4,000 ringgit people, yeah, they have to pay like 10% tax only. 6,000, 15%, okay, 20%, and then let's say this one, 25%. In other words, yeah, if you are getting richer, you need to pay more tax. It's simple as that. Okay, because the relationship is increasing. The richer you are, the more tax you need to pay. Yeah, progressive tax. And the last one, regressive tax, whereby this is one another way around, whereby it is imposed for all a decreasing rate for income level. This one is quite brutal, whereby if you have a 10,000 level of income, they need to pay only minimal taxes like 5%. Okay, but the problem is here. The people who have very low income, 2,000 ringgit need to pay 25% tax. This is quite brutal, okay? Which is not supposed to happen in certain countries, yeah. All right. But I can say that if you ask me, yeah, most of the companies go for progressive tax, yeah, okay, which is quite fair and square. Okay. But before I'm going to government expenditure, any questions so far? Any question regarding tax, indirect tax, and so on?
Clear, sir.
Okay, everything is okay. How about the others? Maisara, Amira, Wana,
No
and then
question, sir.
so far, okay. Romeo, any other question? No, eh? Zukri is here as well? No, okay. No. All right. Shall we take a break like 5 minutes? Okay, we take a 5 minutes break. Yeah, and then after that we will continue with the expenditure. Yeah, 5 minutes. Stronger next season. Alright. Jangan sembang banyak sangat mau spore, jangan sembang banyak sangat. the level. Okay, let's continue with the next part. Yeah. Okay. The next part is about government expenditure. How government spend money got from the taxes that they collected. Yeah, not only from government, but not only from people, but also from corporate, and then some of the other direct revenue as well, like fees, license, and so on. Yeah. Okay, so how government spend their money? Yeah, not their money lah. Yeah, supposed to be public's money. Yeah. Okay. The first one is government operating expenditure, and the second one development expenditure. The differences here is these words. Yeah. Okay. Operating is for operation. Development is more on investment. Okay, and development. Okay, which is they need to develop. Right. So, as you see, there are general administration, social services, economic services, defense, and security. Okay. So, the purpose here is to this one general administration. Sometimes they need to pay public workers. Okay. We call as civil society. Sorry, public servant. Okay, public servant. And then social services, okay, this is to harmonize the society. Yeah, that means, for example, social services like police, yeah, fire rescue, hospitals, and so on. Yeah. Economic service, okay, this one is more on resources like agriculture, resources like industry, agriculture, yeah, and so on. Defense and security, yeah, this one is for army. Yeah. Okay, army, not only navy but also not only navy but marines also, and then we call it air forces. Yeah. Okay. So that is how government expenditure works. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at government operating expenditure. Yeah. The keyword here is operating, which is operation. Okay, government expenditure allocated to cover the expenses of operating and administrating government departments. In other words, yeah, they need to spend more on operation in terms of government's ministry. We have so many ministries in Malaysia, like for example, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of um, International Trade, Ministry of Consumer Product. So those, especially at Putrajaya, so that's why how they spend, how they got salary, how they pay for utilities and so on is we call it as a government expenditure. Consists of emoluments, pension and gratuities. Even though retired, public servant also will got pension as well. Debts, they need to pay whatever the loans, government loans that they have, service charges, supplies and services, subsidies as an acquisition, grant and transfers, and other types of expenditure. Grants means that they give tender to researchers, to conduct a research related to governments and so on. Yeah. Okay, so that is more on government operation. Okay, this one is a development expenditure whereby this is for investment purposes. The government will make investment to improve facilities, okay, in the basic physical infrastructure. Okay, and also it involves of the project that can boost economic growth. Okay, I give you an example. School, mosque, and then what are the public amenities? Hospitals, yeah, and then what else? The government expenditure, prima, yeah, the housing ones, okay, prima, and then what else? The government expenditure, no, school, mosque, prima, sports facilities, national sports national complex, yeah, and then there are many, there are many construction project that involve government's government project. So that's why we call it as a development expenditure. Okay, defense and security. This one, for example, of Army Training Center, yeah, at Port Dickson, yeah, Intan, yeah, if you heard about Intan, okay, and then also other things lah, yeah, there are so many economic services in for the industry, agriculture and rural development, the industry, transport, public services, even transport also is a development as well. For example, KTMB. Yeah, this KTMB have a project of expanding ERL or high-speed railway and so on. Yeah. Social services, which is education, health, housing. We talked about that earlier. Community, balai raya. Yeah. Okay. So on. General administration. Yeah. For this one, GPA, the Department of Public Services, Inland Revenue, HDN building. This one, Royal Custom Act exercise. This one in Malay we call Custom Diraja Malaysia, Department of Statistics. Okay, not only that government rely on the people's tax, that means the revenue is come from taxation. But also, yeah, government sometimes don't have revenue. So the other option is by having a public debt. The debt which a government owes to its national of other countries. For example, Malaysia borrow money from Japan. Or Malaysia borrow money from UK or borrow money from Switzerland, for example. Okay, so public debt means that one country is borrowing money from another country. But that one is external sources. Yeah, two sources of public debt, which is internal sources. The second one will be external sources. Okay, let me differentiate to you what are those two. Okay, this one. Internal. Internal means that government itself borrow from any institution, any institution inside their own country. For example, borrowing from citizen. That means borrow money from rakyat. Yeah, but okay, and then borrowing from financial institution. Let's say government borrow money from CIMB, borrow from Bank Negara, yeah, Malaysia, borrow from BSN, yeah, so on. Yeah, there are a lot of financial institutions which is usually consists of banks and investment companies. Yeah, okay, Khazanah, yeah, and so on. Okay, I overlap this one. Central Bank, Bank Negara Malaysia is not this one. Central Bank is this one, Bank Negara Malaysia. And commercial bank, yeah, which is like CIMB, BSM, Bank and so on. Actually, financial institution and commercial bank. That means commercial bank is actually part of financial institution. Yeah. So even government itself have to borrow from the own, yeah, their own internal ones. Yeah. Next is internal, which is more on foreign. Okay, international money market. Okay, which is one of them is IMF, International Monetary Fund. Currency loan from foreign government. For example, earlier that I talked about Malaysia borrowing yen, Malaysia borrow US dollar, Malaysia borrow Thai baht, Indonesian rupiah, and so on. Loans from international financial institution. For example, Malaysia government borrow money from Bank of Tokyo. Malaysia government borrow money from Standard Chartered, which is located at UK. Malaysia government also borrow loan from Dubai, International Dubai Bank, let's say. Yeah, so that is an example of external ones. Okay, so the difference here is external is more on international, internal is more on local. This is where they borrow money from. Okay, we're talking about government policy. There are two policies applied by government, which is monetary policy and fiscal policy. Let's have a look at the difference between those two. Okay. Is there anything that mentioned about? Okay. Monetary policy is more on money supply. Okay, that means we're talking about the control of currency. But for fiscal policy is more on expenditure. If I'm not mistaken, that is expenditure. Okay, expenditure, government expenditure. Right, we're talking about monetary policy is about maintaining the current currency. Okay, so why monetary policy is important? The first one, to achieve a balance of payment equilibrium. That means money in, yeah, is equal to currency out as well. Achieve full employment of resources. This is to make sure that the currency have a value and then the full employment is there. Achieve higher rate of economic growth. This is to ensure that if the currency is good, economic growth will be good as well. Next one, maintain a continuously low structure of interest rate. Okay, why? Because if interest rate is too high, they will be burden for the investor or borrower. Yeah, they don't want high interest rate. And the last one, maintain domestic price stability. This one we're talking about inflation. Okay, we don't want currency to be dropped massively or increase quite massively. Yeah. Okay, types of monetary policy, expansionary and contractionary. The difference between those two, which is increasing money supply, decreasing money supply. Okay, what does increasing money supply means? Which is add more current currency. One of them, increase paper money, which is increase money note. For example, issue more RM1 paper, issue more RM50 paper. So that is a money supply. But this one, we're talking about reduced currency and then they withdraw back paper money. Withdraw paper money means that the paper money that has been issued by Bank Negara before, they will take it back and then they will put it and then they will not use it or circulate to public. Yeah. Okay, there are some instrument of monetary policy. Okay, we are not going for details. We just the name only. Okay, if you want to know more, then there will be extra reading for you. Okay, quantitative instrument and qualitative instrument. Quantitative, which is by numbers, open market operation, the legal cash reserve requirement, bank or discount rate, and funding. And for qualitative, is more on selective credit control, yeah, and then special interest rate and special directive. This is a example of monetary policy practiced by Bank Negara Malaysia and also other central banks. Okay, fiscal policy, which are more focusing on, yeah. Okay, to be frank, okay, fiscal policy, which is the control between taxes and expenditure. We're talking about balanced budget, deficit budget, and surplus budget. Okay, they want to see whether are they going for more taxes, less expenditure, or are they going for less taxes, more expenditure. So there are two fiscal policy whereby there is an expansionary fiscal policy and contractionary fiscal policy. Okay, so discretionary fiscal policy focusing on government expenditure and taxes, okay, which is more on the operating and development. But automatic fiscal policy is focusing on transfer payment and taxes. Yeah, transfer payment. Okay, let's have a look at the definition of transfer payment. Yeah. Okay. You see, a transfer payment commonly refers to efforts by local, state, and federal governments to redistribute money to those in needs. Yeah. So what does that mean is governments wants to what we call as channeling funds from surplus people to deficit people. Okay, so that means one of them is like taking away money from rich people and then distribute to poor people. Yeah, for one of them is by using income tax. Yeah, so that is a transfer payment. Okay, and that is one. Any question? Any question?